All right, welcome to the Wyoming Five Star Podcast. Today, our guest is Tera Kostelecky, the newly crowned champion of 3A volleyball. Thanks for joining us today,
Y-
Tera.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, super excited to hear from you. I was talking with my some of my business partners who were there at the game, and I actually bumped into Coach Dirty, the boys basketball coach, and we
Uh-huh.
were both just so just I don't know, livid, excited, and happy for Lovell. That match in itself was totally awesome and just unreal. I'm sure for you, it's been quite the
Yeah.
last few days.
Yeah, I keep reliving it through my head actually. The last two matches I keep reliving through my head. Yeah. It was really exciting.
That's awesome. Well, this is kind of like we're in the beginning stages of our podcast here at Wyoming Five Star, and so there will be some parts where we kind of maybe stumble through a little bit. So bear with me, but and this is our first time chatting too. So
Yeah.
I'm just really grateful, and I just really just want to hear all about you, all about the team, all about your community, and I'll try to guide us kind of through it as we go. But I think
Okay.
this would be a good opportunity to, just introduce yourself. I'd love to hear about, how you started coaching, how you got into volleyball, when you started coaching, and maybe where.
Sure. Well, I actually grew up in Cody. Interesting enough, I graduated from Cody, Wyoming, so um that made this weekend even a little bit more special for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, I grew up playing sports in Cody. I was a triathlete all through high school. I actually started coaching in general when I was in high school. I started coaching rec league basketball and things like that. I went and played collegiate volleyball at Northwest for a couple years, and then
Oh, wow.
went on and did my bachelor's in Bozeman, and then after my bachelor's, I went to my first teaching job in Wheatland, and along with that, I started coaching high school volleyball. So, and then I had gotten my master's, moved to Nebraska, and just kept coaching along the way. And then I've coached basketball and volleyball and track, and I just have always coached volleyball. So, um, yeah, I guess in middle school, my parents they said I either had to swim or play volleyball. And I was not getting in a swimsuit, so volleyball it was. And so that's yeah, my love for volleyball just started then. Um,
Yeah, you and me both on the swimsuit.
yeah,
Uh,
so
that's really cool. So it sounds like you've been involved with sports pretty much your whole life. I mean,
yep.
seems like
Hmm.
coaches at the high levels really, love sports, all the sports, not just the one that they coach. So did you have any coaches like along the way that had,
Oh yeah.
like an impact on you or that one,
Hmm.
that pushed you into coaching?
Yes, actually, and I don't know that they necessarily pushed me into coaching, but they have had a huge impact on my coaching. Two that really come to mind, Elisa Osborne and Michelle Sperry. It's Luoma now. Um, Elisa Osborne and Michelle Sperry, they were both my eighth grade coaches, for volleyball specifically. And I don't know, I just became real close with Michelle in eighth grade. They didn't, I'm a twin, and so
Mm.
in eighth grade, they couldn't really tell us apart. We weren't identical, but our names rhymed. And so they were like, you take one and I'll take the other. Well, I was on B team and my twin sister was on A team. They got us mixed up. And so it was interesting. They will still tell you today that, they mixed us up. But um, I actually learned a lot that year, and I'm glad I was on B team because I really learned how to be a leader and learned how to, I guess, be more of a team player. And I learned all of those things that year. And that was from Elisa Osborne. And she's just a good Christian lady. And she ended up being my FCA leader and things like that. And um, after going to high school, we kind of lost touch. But when I came back to Wyoming after my bachelor's, we kind of um, touched base again, and we've been best friends ever since. So we're still in touch, and that's really cool. And then I've always been in touch with Michelle off and on, and um, we get together probably once or twice a year, and um, her and her husband, and actually I was playing in the Douglas match, and we were just about to get going on the floor, and I heard my name from the stands. I thought, "Well, that's odd," and I turned around, and there she was. I thought, "Wow, this is pretty neat," you know? Both of
That
those
is
2
pretty
people
neat.
were there. So, yeah, that was really neat.
That's
So
awesome. I kind of have a similar story myself. My high school basketball coach was had a huge impact on me, and has become a mentor for me in certain areas of my life and sports and coaching in general. And we got along so well that we end up going into business together, and Wyoming Five Star was born. So
mhm,
I can totally relate with that. And I'm guessing some of the staples or culture aspects of coaching and what the things you wanted to bring into your program as a head coach kind of came from them as well. Or what might some of those things be?
mhm. Yeah, and I think that's true. And the other coach that really had an impact on volleyball specifically was one of my teachers in high school, and his name was John Cody. And I guess from all three of them, 'cause I had 4 I guess 3 different coaches in high school. We had a weird turnaround for volleyball, but, he was another mentor, I guess, and we played a lot of summer ball together and outdoor ball together, and so, all 3 of them. But just, like, having the off season and doing those types of things, that was not a huge deal when I was playing in high school, but bringing that into
Hmm.
our program now, that was a big catch, and putting that off-season outdoor play with these kids really love it, and just getting the hands on the ball is a huge deal
Hmm.
in the off season. But a lot of, like, my philosophies and the things that you say to kids and building relationships with kids in order to coach them came from Michelle and Elisa and things like that. And then as far as the coaching side, my first like high school coaching experience with a man named Brian Philbeck, he was really my mentor as far as coaching goes.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of like my drills and things like that came from him. Um, he's a pastor in South Dakota. So anyway,
Okay.
it's all comes together in a big circle. It's just yeah, it's a conglomeration of all of that, and along with Gold Medal Squared. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's another program. So yeah, it's just kind of bits and pieces along the way that I pulled, um, and then I've also been in touch with Keith Franzik, who's like the volleyball god of volleyball of Wyoming, I would say. He's about 78 years old now, but he's very knowledgeable, and he's shared a lot with me over the years too. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Mhm.
so like I'm guessing pretty early on, like in turning over kind of towards this season now. I'm guessing like a lot of the things that you kind of talked about have been already established, and you're like, did you know pretty early on that this would be an opportunity for you guys to win a state championship? Did you have any expectations at all? Or
Yeah.
and combining those expectations with the culture that you're trying to establish, like how did that process go?
Yeah, so last year we had quite a few seniors,
Hmm.
and the goal last year was to get to state, and that was the year I took over as head coach. Um, and I knew I was building a new program, coming in as a new coach and taking over the program. So the goal was just to get to state, and I knew we had some talent coming up in the freshman and upcoming eighth grade years, and so I thought that was a great goal just to get to state. And so that happened. You know, we did everything possible. We went in as the eighth seed into regionals and ended up the fourth seed going in. And so that was pretty remarkable for us. And that was a high to end the season. And, we lost the first 2 going into state, but we met our goal. So, um, we lost those seniors, but then, we're a pretty young team this year. But with a lot of talent, I knew that it was possible to get to state and win it. And those girls are the ones that came up with the goal to win state, and so my the way my program is built in sections so that we could peak at the right time. And so
Hmm.
there's a beginning, intermediate, and advanced level. And so as long as I knew I had to keep that track, and these girls just kept climbing and climbing. And these girls are a special group of girls too, and they're very competitive and they don't like to lose. And so
Mhm.
they just kept climbing and climbing on their own also, and they just never quit. I had to teach them some other valuable lessons along the way, but as far as their skill level, they just kept climbing. And so I knew that they could do it. In fact, last year we were in Cody and there was a gal sitting at the scorebook table and she goes, "Wow, your team's going to be really good in a couple years." And I said, "No, next year." Because she was watching the freshman team play. And I'm like, "No, next year." She goes,
Mhm.
"No, it's going to be a couple years." And I said, "No, you watch, it'll be next year." And so it's funny that this year we were able to beat Cody in the championship.
Wow, that turned out
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
cool. So hey, so I'm really curious about this beginning, intermediate, and advanced planning. So at the beginning of the season, you have things mapped out pretty
Uh-huh.
far.
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh,
that
yeah.
can you expand on that?
Well, I have this book of genius. It's a binder like this thick of just like the way I do drills and what drills and at what time of year I do the drills. And then,
Mm,
at the beginning of season, in the middle, they're more advanced. And at the end of season, they're more advanced. And just the things that I talk to girls about and, the things that I want them to be working on and looking towards at what time of the season. Um, and then as towards more of the end of the season, it's more about scenario type stuff and what could we see at the end of season as far as games and fifth set scenarios, that type of thing. Um, in championship games at high stake levels type
mhm.
stuff. So we just start at little levels and then work our way up into this. And so it's all mapped out in this binder that I have, and it's my own little. I guess I could bottle it and sell it maybe.
Well, maybe you don't want to give away too many of your
No.
success secrets. So, at what point in the season did like the kids start to take ownership? And when did it become a reality that hey, we are about to do something really special?
So the kids have always taken ownership. These, like I said, this is a special group. We're junior, sophomore heavy. Um, our juniors started taking ownership years ago. Um, the sophomores that joined them this year, I think were a little hesitant in the beginning, but our juniors really took leadership. One in particular, Celeste Lindsay, she was also one of
Hmm.
our captains. She really stepped up and said, "Hey, this is the team," and it was probably our second or third match in. Like, this is a team that we could really go to state and win this. Like we could really do this. And I think that's when those sophomores really started to believe, like, yeah, we could do this. And we just, and like I said, we were 36-6 in the season, and four of those losses were Cody. The very
Hmm.
first loss was at our very first tournament. We got into the championship match and we lost to a team in Montana. I mean, that was our very first match. And so that's five of our losses. And then the sixth loss was at duels, which was towards the end of season. And it was just an off day, and we lost to another team that was really good. And so
Hmm.
it was just an off day. And so I think with every win, we just became more confident. And um, I think it just became more of a reality with every win with those girls. They were like, "Yeah, we can do this. Yeah, we're gonna do this." And
Hmm.
we also have two sets of identical twins on our team, oddly enough.
And you're a
Our
twin, yeah.
Yeah, and I am a twin, so I totally get it. Like the telepathy that happens, and it's true, it does happen. It's a catch-22 though, because volleyball is such a communicative sport. Um, the
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of times the telepathy doesn't allow them to communicate out loud to the other girls too, and so it's like at what there's some points where you're like, no, you still have to talk. But it kind of it bites us in the butt sometimes, but for the most part, those girls, when four of the six players on the floor are twins, and I mean, that helps us
Hmm.
out a lot too. So yeah.
Yeah, so I want to ask you a little bit about Cody, but uh and kind of your series throughout the season against them, but um before I do that, like when you're wrapping up your conference play and things are starting to evolve towards postseason, you're thinking about regionals, you're thinking about state, maybe you're even thinking about seeding and how you line up with these other teams. Does your message change from the preseason to the beginning of the season to the end of the season? And what would be like, maybe not specifics, but how do you get in the right mind for, hey, we're transitioning from these games are important to now we're transitioning to we have to win these games to achieve our goals? And maybe that's not your approach at all, but how did you handle that transition time of the season?
So I didn't necessarily put the pressure of we have to win on to these girls, but
Hmm.
more of you have to believe. Like, um, look at what you've done so far and look at your successes so far. Look how far you've grown so far this year. So at the beginning, it's like trying to get them to see their capabilities. And then at the end, it's like realize your capabilities, realize your worth and what you bring to
Hmm.
this team. And so, I guess my message doesn't really change, just maybe the way they look at the message. And so I guess that's what we try and instill in these kids. And I don't know. I've always believed in like two positives for every correction, And so do a lot of correcting at the beginning of season, and towards the end of the season, it's just a lot of encouragement. And
Hmm.
so a lot of these girls just thrive on encouragement and doing things well and just knowing that there's positivity. And this year in particular, these kids, they don't like to lose, but they also don't like to make mistakes. And so for the longest time, they would make mistakes and just crumble. And so that was a huge, huge deal for us this year, is learning to turn a negative into a positive and getting the ball back right away. And this year, that was a huge growth for these girls. And I think once they realized how to do that, they realized that they were capable of winning. And
Hmm.
so that was a huge thing for this team. Mhm.
Cool. Well, tell me a little bit about your coaching staff too. How did they factor into the entire season? And, are you coaching
Mhm.
them too? And I'm just not familiar with your staff, but how are they
Mhm.
throughout the process?
So this is my 6th year in Lovell, and my freshman coach has been here the whole time. She's been the freshman coach the whole time. Um, and so when I first came to Lovell, I was an assistant coach to another gal, and then another gal took the job, and I was assistant coach for a couple of years, and then I took some time off, and then I came back as the head coach. So Angie co- Angie Hitz, she stayed as the freshman coach the whole time, and she's great. She just is really great with those younger kids, and she has a way of explaining things to those younger kids that maybe I don't. The wording maybe
Hmm.
comes across different to those kids, and she's just awesome with them, and she builds relationships with them and carries those all 4 years to those kids. So that's awesome to have her all 4 years. And then Natalie Collins, she's actually the mother of one set of twins that I have on the varsity, but she came in as assistant when I started 2 years ago, and she actually does a lot of the summer program stuff, and she knows all these kids. So she's done the club Rose City, with these kids for quite a few years, and so she already knew a lot of these kids. So her relationship with the kids was already established too, and so um, that wasn't hard to do with them. So as far as having to coach them, I guess maybe they're both not district employees. So just as far as coaching, it was just more of like what's accepted for the district and what's not. But
Right.
Angie was already established, and Natalie just had to learn some of those things. But as far as coaching volleyball, they're already established. So that's nice.
Okay, awesome. So now let's turn over to the postseason. So you guys get through regionals, you come out fairly unscathed, and then you start, making your way towards to Casper for the state tournament. Um, now that you've had a few days to reflect, like tell me about the process of going to Casper, what that's like, team meals, hanging out at the hotel, getting on the bus, going from here, going to there, all kind of trying to balance those types of things and those
Mhm.
um around your play style, around having enough energy for the games. And
Mhm.
I've been to state basketball myself, and I just remember that the process of kind of traveling and going through that whole that whole weekend is can be very taxing on a young person. So maybe you have some insight on that.
Yeah, and, and I haven't asked the kids what it was like for them. For me, it was a little different. I personally was not a fan of how it worked because in the mornings I wasn't with my kids, which was unfortunate because they
Okay.
had to be with my assistants because, we did a team meal before we went even left, and it's exciting for the kids. They're excited, they're pumped. We had a freshman that's never been on the state floor.
Mhm.
We had a couple, sophomores have never been on the state floor. Um, and so they don't really know what to expect. And it's, all that practice that week we played, stadium noise in
Mhm.
practice, so that because it's loud in there, and so we just played stadium noise while we were practicing, and so they get used to that, but and I think that was beneficial, but, just, like, in preparation of what to expect, there's really no way except for just telling them what to expect, but,
Mhm.
um, as far as t team meals and stuff, so that we played that Thursday, and then we prepped for Newcastle, but we knew as far as scouting and things that the West was stronger than the East
Mhm.
as far as, competition and play and just the talent as we believed was stronger on the West than the East. And so we knew we could get through Newcastle, then we would be okay. Um, and we didn't know anything about Douglas. This was the only team that we hadn't faced all year. And I know Angela's a great coach, but so then in the morning Friday we have all state meetings. And so I'm not with the kids in the morning. They're with my assistants. So they
Mhm.
take them and they get them out of the hotel and take them walking and go take them to lunch, and then I meet them back at the arena when it's game time. And so that's it. Um, and then Saturday morning, I had interviews for the radio station and the newspaper and everything else. So again, I'm not with the kids in the morning. So with them a little bit in the afternoon to walk around, and then it's game time. So that's it. So I don't really know the perspective from the kids. I did ask one kid if it bothered them that I wasn't with them. She said it didn't really matter to them. I mean, they were just busy enough walking around and
Mhm.
doing some little things, but I don't know if that's true for all the kids. But they were with the other two coaches the whole time, and we get them out of the hotel, get their legs moving, and we get back to the arena with an hour and a half, before game time so they can get used to the noise and get dressed and, it seemed to work for them, and they have their game routines that they do, and, they kept their routine stayed the same, so
Mhm.
mhm.
Yeah, it sounds like your kids are just kind of a relaxed group of girls anyway. All right, well, we lost a little bit of our connection there, and that's okay. That's in Wyoming, that is going to happen like 9 times out of 10. But we're back now. The last question that I asked you was just about experience, about leadership from your team. Like, who are some of the girls that you rely on for those key leadership moments? Who stuck out to you this season in general?
Well, our captains, Celeste Lindsay and Kira Collins and Becca Nichols. Um, Becca Nichols didn't see the state floor with us last year, but Kira and Celeste had, and so they kind of knew what to expect, and so yeah, I think the girls kind of relied on them, but most of the girls that were on the team have faced high stakes situations in other cases
Hmm.
already. So I think for the most part, they've been in tough situations before already. So
Hmm. All
even at a
right.
young
Well,
age. So
right on. So what through the course of the championship weekend in general, what were some other key moments that stood out? Um, I guess what are the things you're reliving in your mind?
so the Douglas match, quite honestly, Well, one, Angela Rhodes, she's an amazing coach, and in all of my coaching history, I've never won against her, and she's always put together really good teams. And well, and I coached in Wheatland for 5 years, and
Mhm.
she was coaching during that time, and I didn't win against her then. And last year we played against her, and we didn't win against her then. And um, I knew that she was going to put together a good team, and they have kind of a young team also, but Angela's coaching, and I know what she's capable of. And so
Mhm.
that was a little intense for me. That morning, we had our all-state meetings, and she has a player of the year, and she's got, 3 or 4 all-state kids, and I'm
Mhm.
nervous just because we don't really know what to expect other than a few pieces of film that we've seen. And so I don't know, just everything in that match just clicked for us. It was picture perfect. I swear,
Mhm.
it was perfect. Every pass that we had was right on. The serve receive was right on. Everything just fell into place. Our girls were transitioning. Our girls were attacking 100% and got them out of system. And it was like they didn't know what to do. It was deer in the headlights for them. And for Angela, she was almost at a loss, and I could see it in her face. She didn't know what to say, and she didn't know what to do. And that was a highlight for me, um, and I think was honestly our best played match of the year. And so, that was a highlight, and that's what got us into the championship. And
Yeah.
yeah, I keep reliving that in my head. About that time is when I realized how big this really was. Like, I didn't realize how big the state championship really was and what it really meant to Lovell until that night.
Mhm.
Mhm. And so
That's awesome.
yeah. So I keep reliving that a little bit.
Well, that's the perfect time for like a divine moment, right?
Mhm.
The night before. I went through something like that myself. I mean, and you kind of feel like, oh man, there's like maybe a sense of peace here, that I
Mhm.
wasn't expecting. So now I want to talk to you about Cody. I want to talk to you about the championship match. I mean, you guys played it, if I'm not mistaken, you played 5 times this season, and
That was our 5th time.
Cody beat you 4 times. I mean, that is just what a storyline that is. And you come
Uh,
into the championship match, and man, I mean, this was one of 2 matches that went to 5 sets in general. I
mhm.
mean, but even more than that, this was back and forth. I mean, what are you feeling in the course of that game? I mean, one moment that stuck out for me the most, and you might have seen it in that video. Um, you know, your timeouts were very composed. All the players were focused. Nobody looked, like that they were too stressed out. Everyone was just really committed and concentrated. And I mean, what's going through your mind in a situation like that?
Well, I'll take that back to the interview Saturday morning with Keith Franzik. Um, and I still haven't gone back to listen. I recorded it, and I can't find it on the radio. He interviewed me for KODI, and I still
Mhm.
haven't been I can't I don't think it's on the website anywhere, but Um, and it's Keith Franz. I've known him since the 6th grade. So we were just visiting. And he said something to me. He said, you had like I don't know, what did he say?
Mhm.
Quiet confidence, basically. And I did. I honestly, from the very beginning of season, I thought we would split with Cody in season. I thought we'd beat Douglas to get in the championship against Cody. And that's what I was saying all season long. And we didn't split during season. We should have. When they came to Lovell, I think we lost on coaching decision. I think it was a coaching error. That was on me because we beat them 2 straight sets, and
Mhm.
then we lost the next 3. And we were ahead, and we are at set point 2 or 3 times. So I think that was
Mhm.
a coaching decision. So I took that loss. Um, and then yeah, we lost to them in the championship at the regionals. So I was okay with that loss because statistically, the people that win regionals don't usually win state. So
Mhm.
I was okay with that loss going into state because, hey, that was in our benefit. And that's what I kept telling the kids. I'm like, that's in our benefit, you know?
Mhm.
So, going into this one, I just knew we were gonna win. I did. And I told them that we're gonna win this one. And,
Mhm.
after we lost that first set, I was like, well, we came back from a deficit and our kids never quit fighting. And that's how they've been all year. And, after learning how to turn a mistake into a positive, I just knew we were gonna win this one. And
Mhm.
so, um, usually our timeouts are composed and our girls don't really get stressed. They know like the routine of a timeout and um, they are really focused. I talk and then allow them a chance to talk to each other. And that's just the routine of our timeouts. And yeah, I mean, they just took everything I said to heart and they went out and did whatever it was they had to do. Um,
Mhm.
and we won those next 2 sets and we played Cody point for point almost all season long aside from
Mhm.
maybe 2 sets.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was normal for them. That was not anything abnormal, so they were used to it. So they weren't frantic. Um, that last set, the 5th set, Cody called the timeout. And in fact, I don't think I called it. I didn't call a timeout. Um, Cody called the timeout, and we were ahead. It was 14-12, and I said, "They're on their heels. They're scared. We had the serve." I said, "We're gonna serve. They're gonna return it to us." I said, "Kendall, you're gonna pass. Macy, you're gonna set, and Allie, you're gonna kill it for this game." And they went out and did exactly that.
Oh
And it still
man.
gives me goosebumps because that's exactly what happened. Now, I said things like that before in the timeouts, and it never happened that way. This time it did, and so I don't it just was picture storyline perfect. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, it just worked out that way. And good for them. They deserved every bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
it was
then the celebration was on. I can only imagine every team celebrates a little differently. What
Mhm.
do you guys do after the game? I mean, I was there. I got your photo and watched you guys get your trophy. But
Yeah.
when you leave the arena, there's kind of like I know there's more story here, but you don't really get to see it. So
Yeah.
how'd that
Well,
go?
and so yeah. For me, there's one exit basically, and I wanted to go, see the people that were there for me. And so the kids wanted to do the same thing. And they go see their families and things too. And um, they wanted pictures with the trophy. And so that happened, of course. And, we had 4.5 hour bus ride home. And so, um, we wanted to get our food and get home. And, um, the bus ride was not quiet. They were awake the whole time, which is not normal. I was awake the whole time, which is not normal. um, yeah, everybody was just happy and excited. One of the parents had put together, little goodie bags for the girls.
Mhm.
In those was a bunch of glow sticks. And so they had all these glow sticks, and I have videos of them singing these songs, and they had these glow sticks and they're like pounding them to the beat of the song as they're singing
Mhm.
all the way home. Like they're just happy. And I mean that's what this is all about, the joy of seeing that.
Mhm.
And it was just fun to see. Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're just happy and it was like a whole season wrapped into those 4 hours was worth it. And then we were escorted all the way from Grable to Lovell with, 4 cop cars with the lights rolling. And when we get back to town, it's cold, but it's at like 2 in the morning. And sure
Yeah.
enough, fire trucks are there. It didn't matter what time it
Wow.
was. And they honked their horns all the way through town. And, when we get back to the school, there's a whole crowd of people waiting for us, like,
Mm.
and taking pictures. I mean, it was almost 3:30 before I got home. So, yeah. And so, I mean, it's a big deal. And again, I hadn't realized just how big after the and I don't have any social media. I just don't. The kids do, of course, and I've seen a few things that were on social media, but I don't have it, and so I don't see what everybody else may see. But I had 173 text messages, and I don't think I even know that many people. So, um, I realized, this is a huge deal for Lovell. And I hadn't
Yeah.
realized this was only the third state championship for volleyball for Lovell. I knew it was the
Hmm.
first 3A championship, but I didn't realize it was the third.
Hmm.
Um, but the other factor for these kids is kind of some of the dedication of the season. The previous coach before me, Stormy Jameson,
Hmm.
she kind of this year she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and some of these girls played with her. Stage 4. I mean, it's kind of a awful story, but the girls dedicated this season to her, and she's not expected to live, and so the pink night was dedicated to her, and they fundraised a ton for her, and her oldest kid is in 8th grade, and they're pretty close with all of her kids, and um so I guess having that support too and that reasoning behind, I think, also played a role in their fight for winning this championship too, so that she could see that. um she was the last one to win a state championship here in Lovell too, so
Hmm. So
yeah.
there was a lot of just different angles that were special for your team this year. I mean,
Yeah.
not only the series you had against Cody, not only the you know kind of some of those things that you even predicted to happen, that peace you were feeling, but also you've got a prominent figure in the volleyball program and in the community
Mhm.
that's going through something like that. And um,
Exactly.
I can only imagine, uh, the joy that brought her and brought the rest of
Yeah.
the community. And I'm sure,
Hmm.
she was like you were kind of touching on, like she's not the only one in the community that is just totally
Yeah.
pumped to see this. And it goes to show, when people are at the school waiting for you. I mean,
Hmm.
that's just a really a cool, um, just story in general.
Yeah.
So, is there anything like that you'd like to say to the community of Lovell, to your fans, to your
Yeah.
players?
I mean, it is. And we had our banquet last night, and just so many people to thank. And like I said, I've only lived here for 6 years, but I grew up in the basin, and just the support and level is unreal. It's different than any other community I've ever been a part of. And these people, they travel with these kids. They go all over the state for these kids, and the fundraising that they do, and the support that they give, and the town businesses that gives for these kids. And I just you can't thank them enough. Just the support and the fans, these people will even watch on TV if they can't make it, and just 100% this community gives to
Hmm.
all these kids and all their activities. But this year, in it seemed like in volleyball, the stands were always packed, and it's not just because they were winning. I mean, it was that way last year, even when they weren't. And um, I just can't thank everybody enough. And it's not just the parents; it's just even people just of the community that don't have
Hmm.
kids in the program, and the school and the administration, and just down to the custodians and just everybody. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, and it takes everybody to make this happen. It's not just the 14 that were suited on the bench, and I said that last night. It really does take everybody to make this happen, and
Hmm.
and it showed this year.
Hmm. Well, congratulations. I mean, what a cool event the state
Yeah.
volleyball was in general, and then to watch your
Hmm.
team win. I mean, against a really good Cody team. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys played your hearts out. The
Yeah.
fans, I mean, even me, like we had never met. I had never even watched any of your games this season, and I was driving home, and my I was looking over at my wife, and I was like, that was just it was special. And we talked about it the
Storybook. Yeah.
entire ride home. I mean, the
Yeah.
Walker sisters, your guys
Yes.
is like everything back and forth was just it was just so neat. And I that night I was like, I I'm gonna reach out. We're gonna talk to her. I
I'm so
mean,
glad you did, because yeah, I mean, and I do have to say too, our bench, I mean, it was not just what was on the court, it was what was coming
oh
from the court,
yeah.
you know, um,
Your
just the energy.
celebrations from the bench were really cool. I tried to get as many of those as I could, but they were like
Yeah.
the bench energy. I mean, that's
Hmm.
important.
It is really important. Unfortunately, they're gonna put a stop to some of that next year, the officials are, but, this year they let us have it, so it worked out in our favor, but, yeah, that energy that comes from over there is huge, and it really was 100% team effort, and yeah, it only comes for those kids, and luckily we get all but one of those kids back next year, so
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, Tara, I loved this conversation.
Yeah,
I think this is a good, natural stopping point. You absolutely crushed this season. It was my
thank you.
honor to actually talk to you and meet you over this, connection. And just another congratulations. What a
Thank you.
cool thing for the Lovell community. And um, I just can't stop smiling because this is
Yeah,
just a great story, and
me
I'm
too.
glad that I could be a part of it in some way, even just
Yeah,
through this
thank you so
podcast.
much.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Well, I think we'll sign off right here.
okay, sounds good.
And I'd love to talk to you again on the record, off the
Sounds
record.
good.
I mean, you're such a cool person, and
Yep.
just thank you again.
Yep, keep in touch.
All right. See you,
Okay,
Tara. Bye
bye-bye.
bye.